Afternoon to one and all present. This is Dr. Himanshu Srivastava from Government Engineering College, Bhavnagar, and coordinator of this online lecture series Phase 3. We are very happy to host this series. This series is, once again, I'll remind you, is a knowledge hub of many lectures from many eminent scholars across the state. Basically, GTU announced a very nice subject called Professional Communication and Ethics in SEM 3. And from that very moment, we started collecting knowledge from every nook and corner. And being one of the persons who has set this syllabus, I had this in mind that my fraternity across the state, that is 16 colleges, government engineering colleges, we have very nice, eminent scholars. So why not invite them to conduct a session online for my students, and then thereby this would be in hub because it is always available on our YouTube channel. So it is a hub of knowledge for all students across the state. Today, with us, we have Pushpakant sir. Sir, we welcome you on behalf of Principal Professor Dr. M.G. Bhatt sir, me as a coordinator, Ahuti ma'am, as well as students and teaching fraternity. We welcome you on this online platform, sir. Sir is an assistant professor in Government Engineering College, Valsad, very closely associated with me because my schooling was there. So I love the place. And on my one call, he is ready to conduct a talk on barriers of communication. So, sir, without wasting much of the time, the show is all yours. The students are on YouTube. If they have any question, this is for students. If you have any question, please drop down into the comment box, and I will ask the question on your behalf to sir, and sir will address to those questions, but at the end of the show. That's it. Thank you, sir. Please, sir, it's all your show.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Himanshu, and I'm very happy to have a conversation with your students and you all. So today we are going to discuss a topic that affects all of us in our routine life. We all know that what is communication and how it taken place. So the barriers that affects our communication, that are the hiding factors, and due to that our communication could not complete. So barriers of communication, we all know that communication is essential in every part of our life, in classrooms, offices, families, and even in our relationship, friendships. So have you ever experienced a situation where you said something and the other person completely misunderstood you? Or maybe you were trying to listen, but some disturbance made it difficult. These situations happen because of communication barriers. Today's topic is barriers of communication. So we will understand the different types of barriers. Look at real life examples, and also learn the solutions to overcome them. By the end, you will be able to recognize these barriers in your own daily life, and how we can handle them effectively, how we can overcome them. So that is the thing that today we are going to see, the barriers of communication. First of all, communication means what? It is the exchange of ideas, sharing of information, emotions, and all. It is a two-way, we can say, communication. It is a two-way process involving both the sender and the receiver, that we have already learned. But even though the intention may be clear, the actual message received may be very different. Why this topic is very important? Because without clear communication, misunderstandings grow, teamwork suffers, and uh, we may not get results as we have expected. The productivity falls. For example, imagine a doctor giving instruction that the nurse cannot understand, or a teacher explaining in a language in which students don't follow, the results can be serious. So that is why studying, barriers is very essential and important, very crucial. We have different types of barriers in communication, like physical barrier, uh, language barrier, psychological barrier, cultural barriers. Then we have organizational barrier, perceptual barriers, physiological barriers. It is different. Physical is different and physiological is different. That we will see later. Then the technological barrier. So these are the different types of barriers on which we are going to see in detail. The first one, that is the physical barriers. It is environmental, obstacles that block communications. We can say that is physical barriers. For example, think of situation like a noisy classroom where students cannot hear the teachers properly. Sometimes it happens when the teacher enters to the classroom. We, as a students, we all are busy in our own businesses. Then the teacher will try to, get the attention of the student by giving some instructions. So first 2 or 3 instructions we never listen to that properly, but later on. So my intention is that the environmental obstacles are there that are behaving in our communication. Or when departments in a company, you can say, are located far away from each other and rarely interact. From departments are settled on different floors, first floor, second floor, third floor. So even simple issues like poor sitting arrangements, bad lighting, or faulty microphones, some gadgets, faulty gadgets that we are using to communicate. In short, physical barriers occur when external conditions prevent clear transmissions of messages. Distance between departments. Sometimes we have to shout. There is a distance between sender and receiver. So in such cases, our sound, our voice cannot reach properly to that distance. So that can be a barrier. Noise is a major barrier in communication in different occasions. When we talk on cell phone, when we talk to our friends, if we used to stay in a very crowded area, the traffic, vehicles, noise, that also affects our communication in some cases. Faulty microphones means sometimes in some seminars, workshops, online meetings, we use some electronic gadgets. So sometimes the gadgets not work properly. So this can also be a barrier. So we can call it all these are the physical barriers. So how we can overcome them? That is ensure quiet environment, use proper audio systems, reduce distance, and improve facilities like. The solutions to the physical barriers are, quite practical. First, minimize noise and disturbances, or we can keep ourselves away from the noisy area. Teachers should ensure a quiet classroom before beginning a lecture, or second, use proper technology like proper microphones, speakers, and soundproofing when needed. Third, we can say reduce unnecessary physical distance. For example, arranging sitting in a circle for better discussions. Sometimes we arrange a meeting or group discussions or whatever. In such cases, small changes in environment make our communication effective, and we can overcome this, physical barriers. So this can be the remedies to overcome our physical barriers. next, that is language barriers. We all know in our country, in different regions, the different languages are spoken. So language can be a major barrier if we go somewhere abroad or in different regions of our country. So, for example, we can say that misunderstanding due to language or jargon differences. That that is the language barrier. Technical terms confuse non-technical people. Patient confused by medical jargon. International students facing, for we can say we, the Indian students facing English difficulty when we go abroad or for higher studies to somewhere. So these are the different situations in which we can see the language barriers. Language is the primary tool of communication, we can say. But ironically, it is also a major barrier. If the sender and receiver do not share a common language, common platform, so the message can get distorted. The message that we expect cannot be delivered same, cannot be understood by the receiver as we expect. Even within the same language, some jargon, slang, or complex words can confuse listeners. In some cases, if a doctor tells patient that you have, we can say you have, you know, myocardial infections, for example, the word term, the patient may panic. But if he simply says that you had a minor heart attack, so easily he can get the idea that what is happening to him or her. So simply internet, when we students we visit the different other countries or the regions that are using different language than us. So we are not fluent in that language. So we may struggle, we may have faced some difficulties in understanding or make them understand. So what can be the remedies for that language barriers? So to overcome language barriers, the golden rule is we can say we can keep it simple. Use short, clear sentences. When we communicate the people, we if we think that they have some issues in understanding, so we can keep it simple, our message simple and clear sentences, short, avoid some difficult vocabulary or jargon unless you are sure the listener understand it, we can say. Hmm? In such cases, in class or seminars or workshops during that such events, we can use visual aids like charts and diagrams and even demonstrations to fill this gap, we can say. In multicultural workplaces, translations or bilingual communication may be needed. Recently, few days back, we have seen that we have seen a newspaper and the video virals of our honorable prime minister that he has visited China. So they have a meeting with president of Russia, Vladimir Putin sir, and Xi Jinping, the president of China. So when they are talking when they three are talking, so they have some people around them to translate the things, translate the matter, whatever is being conveyed to the different the next presidents. So there are the language barrier they have. So what they have do, they have taken the help of translators. So like that, this is the best example for that. So in different situation, we have to make it clear, make it simple. It should be whatever we convey, it should be easy to understand for the listeners. When we visit the foreign countries or different regions. So definitely we may face some difficulties in understanding because we are not familiar with the language barriers. If we talk about different regions of our Gujarat, also even Gujarati is spoken differently. People using different sounds uh, to pronounce a particular word. For example, five in Gujarati we say panch, but if you go to the Charotar or the other region of Gujarat, so they will say paunch. We say pani. Hmm? For water we use in Gujarati pani. They will say poni, isn't it? So in some cases this may create some confusions and misunderstandings. So in short, remember the goal of communication is not to impress with vocabulary but to make the message understood. Keep in mind this thing. What? Not to impress but simply our message, whatever we convey, that should be easy to understand by the listeners. That is the thing. So this is how we can overcome the language barrier. Next is that we have already discussed. We should keep our message simple. We can use clear language or jargon and slang, use visuals, translations, bilingual support, or all. That is the thing. Let us move forward. Psychological barriers that we are facing also. Barriers caused by emotions, stress, and attitudes. Stress employee ignores instructions. Shy student avoid asking questions. Manager misreads tone of email. All such things. When we are also in stress, when the exams are near or the an hour before the exam commencement, we are very stressed. So in such situation, we ignore the instructions. Shy students avoid asking questions in the class. We also observing that things. Even the topic is not understood by us. If we find difficult as a student, if we find difficult in understanding, even though we never ask questions to the teacher, we we feel that what the other students will think about himself or herself. So this can also be the barrier. Manager misreads the tone of email. These are the things. So psychological barriers arise from the emotions, attitudes, and state of mind. A person who is stressed or angry may not pay attention to what is being said. When we are angry, we never listen to others. So like that, when we are in stress, we also pay attention towards the instruction, what the instructions are given sometimes. So in different cases, a shy student may know the answer but may not speak up because of fear. Similarly, whether in such cases, suppose he or she is not enough confident, so he never raise his her hand or whatever, or never speak up, never give the answers in some cases. So similarly, misinterpretations often happens because people assume a tone or intention that was not there. This is one of the most common barrier in our our daily life. So this is what about psychological barriers. We feel shy. We sometimes we are not enough confident, or we have some fear to speak in front of the class or in front of the teacher. So how can you overcome all these things? What can be the solutions? Reduce stress and anxiety. Overcoming the psychological barriers. requires patience and we can say emotional awareness. So what we need to do first, that is we must create a supportive environment where people feel comfortable and expressing themselves. Build supportive environment, practice empathy and active listening. That is very important. Empathy plays a key role. Putting yourself in another person's shoes helps avoid misjudgments. Third, we can say practicing active listening, really paying attention to what the other person is saying, reduce chances of misunderstanding. Sometimes we are overconfident, sometimes we are not actively listening to him. So this can create misunderstanding. So paying proper attention, actively participating, actively listening, we can reduce the chances of misunderstanding. A calm and respectful tone also helps to break psychological barriers. So this can be the remedies, this can be the solutions of psychological barriers. So the major psychological barrier is the first one, that is stress and anxiety that are playing major role. So we can overcome, we can solve this barrier by practicing, practicing and practicing. When we are asked to present something, when we are asked to present any idea or thought in front of the class, so we feel we have some fear, or we feel that whether my friends will think about me, or whatever I say I'm going to share is right or wrong. So there are different questions we have in our mind. So before presenting that, we can practice at our room, practice at our hostel, practice in front of our friends. So by practicing and practicing, we can get the confidence, and we can reduce our stress and anxiety. So that is the psychological barriers and solutions. The next one is cultural barriers. Eye contact meaning varies. Punctuality valued differently. Gestures have different meanings. So cultural barriers means different cultures have different customs, and for different gestures, for different cultures, the gestures they have different meanings. Simply, when we show thumb, that is, it's okay, it is good, it is fine. But in some cases, we show thumb means you are not going to get anything. So the single gestures have different meanings. So in different cultures, uh, for different gestures, we have different meanings. Like uh, it's culture shapes how we think. In short, we can say behave and communicate. When people from different cultures interact, barriers may arise. For example, in some cultures, making direct eye contact shows confidence and respect. When we communicate with our teachers and parents, we maintain eye contact. That means we are confident, we are sure. But if we are not enough confident, or we are feeling guilty, like, then in such cases we are not maintain eye contact with teachers or parents. So in some cultures, making direct eye contact shows confidence and respect, while in others it is seen as rude or aggressive. Similarly, hand gestures may have completely different meanings across countries. Even concepts of time also vary. Punctuality valued differently. So in some places, punctuality is very strict, while in others, being late is acceptable. In our India, in our culture, in invitation card, the time is given that the function will begin at sharp 12. So what do we think? ये तो चालू था से 1 वागे. We reach there after an hour. So this is what we think, the way of thinking. But in some countries, in some cultures, they are very punctual. So like that. These cultural differences can easily cause confusions. So we must be careful about that. So what are the solutions? Be culturally sensitive, clarify when unsure, so respect for diversity. The solution is, cultural sensitivity. We need to be aware that others may see the world differently. It doesn't make them wrong. We can say, if unsure, clarify politely, showing respect for traditions, customs, and values build trust. In workplaces with diverse employees, for example, uh, all you are going to be an engineer, so in future you may have to work in a big company or with different colleagues from different backgrounds, means different cultures from the different regions or from the other countries. So you may face such situations. So in a workplace with diverse employees, training programs on cultural awareness are very useful. So simply keep in mind, be culturally sensitive, give respect to the all cultures, clarify when unsure. We need to clarify the things if you are not sure about that, and so respect for the diversity. Organizational barriers. We all are the part of organization. Barriers created by structure or hierarchy. Means if you take the example of an organization or a big company, so there are different hierarchy levels. There is a boss, then there is a manager, then there is supervisors, then there is you know uh, workers, peons. So there are different hierarchy levels in an organization. In our institute also there is a principal, then head of the departments, then you know uh, faculty is head of the departments, faculties, then lab assistants, peons and clerks and others. So sometimes messages passes from the higher level, mostly oral messages, not written, but when the messages passes from higher level to lower level, so in some cases the message is lost. The proper message as the sent by the higher authority is not uh, completely delivered to the bottom level from the low to the lower level. Then the rumors spread due to poor channels, approvals, delay informations. So these are the some organizational behaviors. So barriers that we face in the communication, organizational communication, that we can say organizational barriers. Communication in organization, we can say communication often passes through several levels of hierarchy. As I said, from higher level to lower level, from lower level to higher level. This can delay or distort the original messages. Imagine a piece of information passes from the CEO, I can say boss, to managers, then the supervisors, and finally to the workers. By the time it reaches to the last level, the messages may have completely changed. ઘણી વખત આપણે પેલી ગેમ રમીએ કાનમાં લાઈનમાં 10 સ્ટુડન્ટ્સને આપણે ઊભા રાખીએ અને and we whisper any message to the first one. The first one pass this message to second one will pass that message to third one. So at the end of the line, the 10 students receive the message. It is totally different than the first one. The message actually that the teacher or coordinator has said to the first student. So like that. By the time it reaches the last level, as I said, the message may have completely changed. It is not. It may not reach as it is sent by the from the higher level. Other barriers include too many formalities, lack of proper communication channels, or you can say information being withheld intentionally sometimes. This lead to rumors and inefficiency. So what can be the remedies? Create direct communications channels sometimes. If it is required, we should communicate directly. Reduce hierarchy levels when it is necessary, or ensure transparency. That is the thing, important thing. Ensure transparency. To overcome organizational barriers, companies should reduce unnecessary hierarchy and encourage direct communications. For example, an open door policy allows employees to share ideas or problems directly with managers. Sometimes, in such cases, students can meet directly with the principal sir or head of the department. Suppose in some cases you have passed your message to the faculty, but due to some other his engagements in other tasks, he cannot pass your message to head of the department or the principal sir within the time limit. So in such cases, you can meet directly to the head of the department with due permission, or principal sir with due permission. You can have some conversation with directly. So when it is required, you can create direct communication channels. There must be transparent policy or regular meetings, and feedback systems also ensure smooth flow of communication in organization. Barriers we can overcome by creating direct communication channels and by reducing hierarchy levels, or by making some transparency in communication. The next one is perceptual barriers. Barriers due to different perceptions, interpretations. Perceptions. Perception means what? That we assume something by watching particular person, by looking at a particular person. Sometimes we assume that that person is, like we can say, we judge, we assume that he may be very angry person. In some cases, we avoid to talking to him by just observing his face or his appearance. We assume something. So like that, moving ahead, what is perception? The perceptual barriers happen because people see the same thing differently, we can say. For example, constructive feedback may be taken as criticism by one person, and other can take it as a helpful advice by another. કોઈને આપણે સમજાવીએ સારી રીતે constructive feedback આપીએ તો sometimes we take it negative, but what is the positive thing? That is, we should take it a helpful advice. So the perception is also can be a barrier. Feedback seen as criticism, then short email taken as anger. Sometimes due to lack of time, we send our message shortly. We compose our message, we draft our message shortly. So what the receiver can think? Receiver will take it as short email may look rude or to the receiver. એમને એવું લાગે કે વ્યવસ્થિત લખવાનો ટાઈમ નથી. He is not even he is not willing to even draft the email properly. So the receiver can take it in another way. So even though the sender was, we can only save the time. We are in hurry, so we have drafted it, in a smaller way, smaller message. So this shows that communication is not just about words, but also about how those words are perceived by others. That is the thing. So what can be the solutions? What are the remedies? Clarify message, check perceptions, and avoid assumptions. We should avoid assumptions in a particular way. Everything, whenever we think that we get confused, we are not sure, we should clarify all the things. The key to solving perceptional barriers is clarification. Always check how the other person has understood your message. If you don't get the feedback as you have expected, as we expected, so there must be something wrong. So always check how the other person has understood your message. Avoid vague or incomplete communication. If possible, repeat important information in different ways to make sure it is received correctly or not. You can share your message repeatedly. You can pass on the message again if you think that the message is not delivered properly. And above all, avoid assumptions. Never assume that the other person has the same perspective as you. Hmm? Earlier, I have told you that everyone has different thinking ability, different way of thinking. So don't assume that hmm, the message that you have said that is understood by in same way that you have expected. So if you don't get the perfect feedback as you think, then you have to pass your message again. So that is the solution for the perceptual barriers. Now the physiological and technological barriers. Physiological means health related issues like hearing loss, fatigue, and all such things. Technological means internet failure, tool incompatibility, lack of training, examples like poor eyesight, noisy video call, outdated softwares. So these are the physiological and technological barriers. Physiological barriers are, we can say, related to the physical conditions of an individual, such as hearing problems, poor eyesight, or fatigue. This affect the ability to receive or deliver messages. Technological barriers are what? On the other hand, are more common today. Poor internet connectivity. When we call our friend through WhatsApp, through video call or whatever. So if the internet is poor, we cannot place video call, or there are some disturbance. Our voice is not properly reached to the listener. So we can say it is technological barrier. Poor internet connectivity in an online classes, we can say incompatible file format. Sometimes compatibility is also a major issue. Software, some files are not compatible. Some applications are also not compatible in our operating systems. So this also can be a barrier. Lack of knowledge about new tools can also disrupt communication. Proper use of tools, knowledge about that particular tool is also can be a barrier. So this is what about physiological and technological barrier. Health related issues like hearing loss, poor eyesight. So due to poor eyesight, sometimes we cannot read the proper instruction notice boards. signboards. So this can be also a barrier. Then the noisy video call and software. So for that, what we can do, they provide assistive devices, use clear and readable formats, ensure reliable technology and training. So what can be the solutions? Solutions include providing, we can say, proper medical and technical supports. The listeners who have some physical challenges. So in such situation, we can provide the medical or technical support for physiological barriers. Assistive devices like hearing aids or glasses are essential. For fatigue, simple measures like breaks and rest help. If the session is too longer, then there must be a breaks and rest times for the listeners or group of audience, in which they can have some refreshment. Like that. So for technical barriers, organizations should ensure reliable internet, updated tools, and regular training of employees for using such tools or equipments. And most finally, the important is choosing user-friendly platforms also makes communication smoother. So we should use technology, we should use gadgets, but we must know about the proper use, proper functioning of that gadgets. So this can help, this can improve our, communication, and easily we can overcome some uh, barriers. So these are the different barriers in communication. So to conclude, I can say barriers are natural but manageable. We should not avoid the barriers. We should overcome. We should manage the things. If we avoid, then definitely they will harm our communication. They will break our communication. So we should manage this, manage the barriers. We should overcome. Understanding, prevention, solutions are there. So through the clear communication, we can build trust, teamwork, and efficiency. So communication barriers are everywhere, we can say. So in classrooms, in offices, and even at home when we go to market. But the good news is that they can be overcome. So as I said, we should not avoid, but we should try to overcome them. Each type of barrier has a solution, and by applying this, we can improve understanding and reduce conflicts. What happens if we continue with the barriers? There may be conflicts, there may be misunderstanding, there may be problems, but by improving them, we can build up confidence, we can build up relations, understanding, reduce conflicts, and build stronger relationships. We can easily remember, students, effective communication is not just about speaking, but also about making sure the message is understood the way it was intended, the way we expected. That is important. If we become more aware of barriers, we can prevent them, and that will lead to success both personally and professionally. That is what about the barriers of communication, and how we overcome them, how we solve this barrier, and how we can make our communication effective.
Very nice, sir.
That
It
is
was
that's
a
it.
lovely session,
Okay.
and definitely, students. Before I conclude, I just want to give you 30 seconds, so that within 30 seconds, if you have any question. If you have any question, you can drop down in the comment box, and I will ask that question on your behalf to sir. So you have 30 seconds. But till then, thank you, sir. It was a
Okay.
very fabulous session.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
really, you have covered all the aspects of barriers of communication, be it cross culture, be it multilingual, be it your own language. That was very nice because I also teach the same way, and I always refer to Valsad because we have a very nice way of speaking there. And then you come to Charottar, where I am now, right now living. And then you come to Bhavnagar. Even Gujarati dialect is changing a lot. So ये barriers तो रहेंगे. It would be, but you have to understand each other, and the way people adapt to different languages. Barriers external होते हैं, internal होते हैं. You have excellently discussed, sir. So we have one question side. I'll just read it out. Question है sir, how to overcome cross cultural barrier. क्रॉस कल्चरल बैरियर होता है, उसको ओवरकम कैसे किया जाए. मेरे ख्याल से बच्चा जो है वो बात कर रहा है कि बहुत सारे फॉरेन स्टूडेंट्स आ जाते हैं या फिर अदर स्टेट के स्टूडेंट्स आ जाते हैं. समटाइम्स वो कम्युनिकेशन गैप का हिस्सा होता है. उस हिसाब से कुछ बोल रहा होगा बच्चा. यस सर.
Okay. Okay. See, as I said earlier, we should keep our message very simple and easy to understand. Sometimes it happens only due to the language. Sometimes we don't understand their language, and specifically when we have conversation with the people from abroad, so we have different sounds that we are using to pronounce a word. So we must be improved by practicing only. We can be habituated with such sounds, or they can be habituated with our sounds. By practicing only, we can improve this thing.
वेरी नाइस, वेरी नाइसली सेड सर. और बच्चा एक बात मैं भी बोलना चाहूंगा कि नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन इज वेरी नाइस. So long as that gets a good connect, you can slowly and gradually adapt to a language that he or she understands and you understand. इस तरीके से धीरे धीरे अल्टीमेटली खाना सब खाते हैं, स्माइल सब करते हैं, राइट. तो स्माइल से शुरुआत करिए हर चीज की, और इट वुड बी वेरी नाइस. आपको भी बहुत अच्छे अच्छे फ्रेंड्स मिलेंगे. जैसे मेरे साथ में जो अभी सर हैं, वो इज वन ऑफ माय गुड फ्रेंड्स. मैंने एक कॉल किया और सर को बोला सर आना है आपको. मैंने ये नहीं पूछा कि सर आप आना चाहते हो कि नहीं, मैंने ये बोला सर आना है आपको. सो वी शेयर दिस जेलिंग वेरी नाइसली, जिसको बहुत नाइस वे में बोलते हैं. दैट्स इट सर. We are not taking any more questions because of the constraint of time. And on behalf of Government Engineering College Bhavnagar, Professor Dr. M.G. Bhatt sir, the principal of GC Bhavnagar, me as the coordinator, Ahuti ma'am, and all the student fraternity, I thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Hemant.